Good afternoon and welcome to today's San Joaquin Council of Governments meeting. We will go ahead and do roll call.
Did you want to do the pledge?
Oh, sure. We will do the pledge. Chair Dollywall, will you do us the honor? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Perfect. Now we'll go ahead and do roll call.
Mayor Akinjo, Mayor Ariola, Councilmember Craig Hensley, Supervisor Dollywall,
Here.
Supervisor Ding, Councilmember Engel, Councilmember Enriquez, Mayor Fugazi,
Present.
Councilmember Harrison,
Here.
Councilmember Ponce,
Present.
Supervisor Rickman,
Here.
Mayor Singh, Councilmember Zuber,
Here.
Margaret Stevens, Derek Graves, Caleb Brock.
Here.
We have a quorum, Chair.
Okay, by the skin of our teeth. At this time, we usually set aside for recognitions and presentations, but we don't have any. We are moving on to public comments. I have a comment card, but it is for agenda item, not for now. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so then we will go ahead and move on to the consent calendar. What is the pleasure of the board?
Okay, ma'am, we actually just received a public comment.
Oh, okay. Wonderful. We will back to public comment. Thank you. Oh, Armando. Trustee Valerio from Delta College. You have 3 minutes to share whatever you'd like with us.
Thank you, Chair Fugazi. I just want to introduce myself. I'm from Delta College, District 5. A little bit about District 5. It's east of 99 Freeway, north to Dillard Road, south to Escalon, half of Calaveras County. So I have about 1,200 square miles and about 115,000 constituents. So it's kind of a big area. The biggest problem that I've had coming in is Calaveras County, where in our past Measure L, there's a lot of promises done and we didn't fulfill that. So we're in dialogue and conversation how we can fulfill that. I'm trying to get out to all city councils and supervisor meetings as well, just to introduce myself. Here's who I am. If there's any issues or complaints you have, or even if there's any suggestions, we're readily available to do that myself. A little bit about our bond, the $592 million bond. Thank you, taxpayers, for approving that. We appreciate that. We need probably $1.5 billion, like all of your cities need. But anyway, we have phase 1 and phase 2. Our phase 1 is Mountain House, which we're actively pursuing, getting our designs and everything. So we're going to move forward on that. Manteca, we're going to also do some enhancements over there so we can bring in some wet labs. We're also going to put money into Delta. Our infrastructure is really aged, cabling, networking, things like that. We're going to put money in there. We're also going to do like some of the solar panels and energy efficiency as well. We're going to do an EVOC center in Lodi. And in our phase 2, we're also actively looking and pursuing to put a satellite in Lodi, like in Mountain House, which has been a challenge so far. And when I spoke to Lodi City Council, I was mentioning that as well. We want to make good and a solid effort to move forward with that, because Measure L, there was, again, promises made and things weren't followed up with. So this board is committed to moving forward with that. This board is committed to making sure we meet the needs of our constituency, in particular the students, but the community as well, because I think what happens sometimes is we're in our silos and we don't get out enough. So this is my attempt to get out of the silos, get out of the box, be in the community, boots on the ground, hear good, bad, or indifferent. Especially, like I said, when I went to Calaveras County, I still have the bruises from when I took over there. Like all of you, right, in your elected positions, you're going to take some bruises. Take one for the team, but move forward, because we want to provide quality education in San Joaquin County and the counties we serve well, Calaveras County, Solano County. So we want to make sure that we provide the adequate facilities. We want to make sure that we're a starlight when people want to come to us versus pushing out to other community colleges. So thank you very much for your time, and thank you for the decision you make. And I want to give a shout out to SJCOG as well. Data, they got wonderful data. I've used that for myself, and because I work, my full-time job is public health, but the data they have really is enhancement for things I have to look at. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
May I ask, Mr. Valerio? Sorry. If
you mentioned Lodi, you're going to get a question from me. So,
Of course, I did last time when I was at your city council meeting, yes.
actually, I think it's really important. The Nexus here, one of our winter waste projects in Lodi is to look at Kearney Lane and the 99 interchange
Mhm.
there, because we have a strong economic development plan that highlights that area for future development. Our economic development plan also highlights educational institutions and facilities as job creators. So one of the things I would like to suggest to you is you might contact our economic development director and set up a meeting, because you've got a couple members of council that are really interested in this issue and the satellite campus.
Absolutely. I think at the city council meeting, we kind of agree that maybe perhaps the city manager reach out to our president and start that dialogue, and then perhaps we can meet as,
Yeah,
move that.
I think it works the other way around.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever way works, because everything has to go through the president. We just make the policy decisions, but yeah. So your folks with our folks, and then we can go from there. But yes, we're definitely willing and wanting to whatever's in the best interest of Lodi, because, you know, I firmly believe in education myself, just like Mayor Fugazi. You know, if you can have a solid education for your community, for the young folks, and even for adult education as well, it only enhances our community, and that's what we want, is to make all our cities and counties thrive. Thank you.
Through the
I'll give you
chair,
his number.
through the chair. Madam Chair, I just wanted to make a remark. I wanted to thank our speaker, Armando, for his service. He recently resigned from the COG Social Services Transportation Advisory Committee, and we appreciated all the input and feedback and the time he spent as a volunteer position. So we wanted to thank him for his service.
Okay, now may we move on to 4? Do we have any more public comment? No, wonderful. Okay, let's move on to item 4, consent calendar. Are there any items that the board would like to have more information on? If not, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please use your handy dandy remote controlled voting apparatus.
Board, can you guys please pass the votes? All votes are in. Closing the vote. Motion carries.
Okay, moving on to action items. Our first action item is the big ticket item, I think. We have a number of people in the crowd. Well, actually, all of them. But approval of Senate Bill 125, Phase 2 programming recommendations. Mr. Campos.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon. Members of the board, members of the public. I'm going to bring us back to October 2025, when this board approved of the SB 125 Phase 2 capital call for projects guidelines and released the call for projects. Phase 2 consisted of the unprogrammed balance of $25.6 million. And that was for years 3 and 4 of the state's SB 125 program. Now, just would like to remind you all that SJCOG has yet to receive the $25.6 million. SJCOG was allocated a portion of this funding in the FY 25-26 state budget. However, we have still yet to receive those funding. So just wanted you all to be aware of that. However, upon the release of the call for projects, SJCOG received applications as of January 31st, totaling $33 million. Those applications were reviewed by a 3-member ad hoc committee that was made up of 3 SJCOG board members in February. And next slide, please. The ad hoc committee recommended the programming or funding of these 14 projects totaling $25.1 million. This list of program of projects was reviewed by the Technical Advisory Committee, the Management and Finance Committee, and the Executive Committee, and it was approved unanimously by all 3 committees. And thus, next slide, please. Staff are recommending that this board approve of the ad hoc committee's recommendation for SB 125 Phase 2 programming, as shown in attachment A of your staff report, totaling $1.5 million, and authorize the executive director to execute fund transfer agreements with the awardees identified in attachment A. And that's the end of my presentation, so I'm available for any questions.
Are there any questions from the board? Seeing none, I do know we have public comment. So, Mr. Sheridan, you're up.
Good afternoon, Chair and members of the board, and thank you. On behalf of ValleyLink, I just wanted to come here tonight and express our appreciation for programming the funds onto the ValleyLink Phase 1A project and the efforts by COG staff, and also Assemblymember Ransom and Senator McNerney and their efforts, acknowledge them. And just to, actually came up with a list of fair and equitable projects for all of the county, I believe. And just looking at your list, and this money will help develop a mega regional project that will help create a rail connection that will serve the public in San Joaquin County. I just wanted to say thanks again.
Thank you. I do want to recognize that we have the Assemblywoman in the audience, and I don't know if she would like to speak. Okay. Assemblywoman Ransom.
Yes, Madam Chair and Board, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here this evening. I just wanted to come and give, just a hearty eye to this recommendation and just to show strong support. I just remember a couple of years back that really the focus was not on this particular project. And I just want you all to know this means so much to the residents of San Joaquin County and to the Central Valley. And I also want you to know that, you have my commitment as your state legislator. We do know that there are lots of requests from the governor, and these funds are in jeopardy. But myself, along with 10 other colleagues in the state legislature, did reach out to the governor. We met with the governor's team. We've also submitted a letter that we, the undersigned, think that this is too valuable to our communities for these funds to not be given to projects like the Valley Link. This project really sets us ahead of other communities, and to have skin in the game is so very important as we look to other funding sources. And so I just want to commend you all for getting to this point, and thank you so much for prioritizing the Valley Link, and again, to extend my partnership to you all as this progresses. Thank you.
Wonderful. Any more public comment on this item? No, seeing none. Okay, bringing it back to the board. I would like to make a comment, but I will go ahead and defer to the board first, and I'll bring it home then. So go ahead, Council Member Zuber.
I was just going to make a motion
Oh.
that we approve the recommendation.
Okay, well, I saw him going for his button, but before we get there, I just would like to say that, this list, we're talking about over 25 million that is going out to different projects to meet the needs of giving options for transportation in our region. And it's going to improve then the flow and movement by various means. So super excited about that. But I do want to point out that when we did the town hall in Tracy, Assemblywoman Ransom was in my ear for sure about this. And at the center of this investment is $10 million for Valley Link. And that will expand our transit options, which is what we want to do, improve travel times, and deliver quality of life benefits to the commuters. And this is how the Council of Government makes smart, coordinated investments that serve our community today and into the future. So I will take that motion unless there is any other comment from this board, and I will look for a second.
I'll second.
Okay, comment?
Question and comment. Mr. Sheridan? How do things look? Are we going to meet the timeline or
Currently,
the Valley Link?
yes, currently we are on schedule to complete the design by 2027, at which point in time we'll seek the additional funding for construction. But at this point in time, we're moving along with the schedule that our board approved in June of last year.
Because whenever I see residents and constituents in my district, I'm pretty sure it happens to Supervisor Rickman also. That's the first question they ask. Hey, tell us about Valley Link. People are so excited.
Well, I appreciate that, Supervisor. And I would just say we're working in close coordination with the San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission as your current rail operator. And we are looking forward to that connection with ACE that's going to give San Joaquin service the ability to get to BART or anywhere in the Tri-Valley, starting here in Stockton by catching the ACE train and transferring to Valley Link. It creates that mega regional connectivity that doesn't exist today.
Thank you. And Assemblywoman Ransom, thank you for everything that you are doing for us, but we're going to need more. Please let the governor know that we are needy, not greedy. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Mayor Kinjo?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you so much for, just to echo your consideration, Valley Link has come a long way. And it is very interesting to see the changes that this board has accomplished over the life of coming here, both as a regular citizen and as a board member, and advocating from here to Washington, D.C. for Valley Link. So I was in contact last week when I was in D.C., and I did the best I could do to make sure Valley Link is constantly in the ears of those that are listening to us. So Assemblywoman Ransom, thank you so much. And the same thing goes for the Senator McNerney and all our representatives that might not be from this Central Valley. They are really pushing things for us, and we appreciate all of you. Thank you so much.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. So members, please cast your vote.
All votes are in. Motion carries.
Okay, great. Moving on to item 5B. Recommend the SJCOG board approve the 2026 One Voice Program of Projects and updated federal legislative platform.
Thank you.
Welcome back.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Chair. However, prior to me addressing the staff report, I would like to bring up Eric Lawston. He's the managing principal from our advocacy firm, HBS, and he's here to give us a lay of the land of what's going on in Washington, D.C. So, Eric, all yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon. It's nice to see you all. Many friendly faces, and we look forward to seeing you in Washington later this spring. Next slide, please. My name is Eric Lawson, Managing Principal with HBS. We have had the pleasure of working with the San Joaquin Council of Governments for a number of years. We are a multi-state and federal bipartisan government relations firm, providing both lobbying and consulting services to our clients since 2018. We have decades of experience working in in Congress and federal agencies, as well as throughout our many state offices as well. We merged with another lobbying firm, CJ Lake, back in 2023. Lynn Jaquez and her team had been working with SJCOG up until that point. And so along with that merger, we brought you all in as a client and have had the pleasure of working with you for the last 3 years. The team at our firm who works on behalf of SJCOG includes myself, Lynn Jaquez, and my colleague Cooper Ehrenreich. But we also have the ability to call upon any of the other professionals in our firm anytime we may need their expertise or their contacts, whatever may be necessary to support your needs as we can best represent you. Next slide, please. What do we do? Well, we are your voice in Washington, D.C. We are there to represent the SJCOG as you may need us in pursuing your transportation and other policy interests. We are supposed to be not only your voice, but your ears as well. Develop relationships with your federal delegation here in California, have good relationships with the agencies and representatives, Department of Transportation, Federal Transit and Federal Highway Administration, the White House and elsewhere so that we can be in a place and have the context necessary to help solve the problems and pursue opportunities that may be in your interests. An example of this was, as you may know, every year we pursue what was formerly known as earmarks and generally still are, but now have more official names like congressionally directed spending. Had worked with Congressman Harder's office to address questions that came up in the submission of requests to get additional funding for 99-120 to assure that those opportunities continue to go forward and that there's no hiccup in those pursuit of additional dollars for those important transportation projects you have here. In addition to some of those transportation funding opportunities, we also play a role in scheduling the One Voice trip and making sure that we are an asset to you all and to your team. Not only do we have biweekly calls with Diane and her team, but Diane and I are in constant contact by email, by text, and by phone as may be necessary to keep her apprised of what's happening and to make sure that we have good direction on what their needs are and to answer technical questions as they may come up when we're pursuing funding or other opportunities like that. Next slide, please. We've had some notable successes in the most recently passed appropriations package. There was $250,000 included for pre-construction work on the I-205 managed lanes project. A little further back, we in FY23 helped secure $5 million, and in FY24 another $500,000 for 99-120. And then we're also involved in the successful pursuit of $43 million for City of Tracy's I-580 Coral Hollow project, which was a raise grant that they succeeded in, but had been part of the One Voice package of projects for a number of years, as well as the $1.5 million for San Joaquin's Grant Line Road widening project. Next slide, please. In general, I'm sure you're fairly familiar with the way in which federal transportation policy works, but there are two separate sort of legislative efforts that assure that the funding that you look forward to arrives. The first would be the annual appropriations process, which is providing funding necessary to keep the grant programs and the formula programs that you rely on well funded on an annual basis. Of course, we have had an unfortunate history recently in Congress of shutdowns and delays in getting the appropriations process moving forward, but thankfully this year they did pass full transportation appropriations package. There is also the periodic transportation authorization process that more broadly sets policy, establishes or de-establishes grant programs, sets overall funding levels that may be achieved for particular programs, and establishes the rules and guidance that confine the projects and direct those projects moving forward. Next slide, please. We look forward to many of you coming and visiting DC in May for this coming up One Voice trip. The one we had most recently in 2025 included more than 70 members of your board and your member communities. We felt it was a terrific trip. The weather was a little warm, but otherwise generally positive experience. We had more than 20 meetings in Congress and federal agencies and with other stakeholder groups over those 3 days. And we look forward to hosting you again this year. We're in the midst of planning that trip and have been for several months already. That includes helping select the projects that will be advocated for in the One Voice effort, scheduling meetings, reserving rooms, researching which agencies are going to be applicable to the program selections that you have, and making sure that after you visit, we are following up on any questions or requests for additional information that may come about. We do understand that, unfortunately, this year, we happen to have landed on a week where now both the House and Senate are going to be in recess. The House was intending to be in session until just last week when the King of England announced his plans to come to Washington, D.C., and Congress changed the schedule to be in session the week before when they had intended to be in recess, and then moved a recess to the week when you'll be in town. That does unfortunately mean that it's likely that Congressman Harder won't be there. It's possible he may be there, and we're working to try to determine that currently. But it will afford us more time to spend with staff, which can be fleeting at times as they're managing what they have to be attending to in floor activities, committee activities, and elsewhere. But we will guarantee to assure that it is a productive and successful trip for you. Next slide, please. This year, the Congress is considering a reauthorization of that long-term surface transportation authorization that I had mentioned previously. The most recent one was the bipartisan infrastructure law passed in 2021, also known as the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. That bill provided $1.2 trillion in funding over a 5-year period for your typical roads, bridges, transit, and rail programs, but also included a significant array of other funding for non-traditional infrastructure projects, at least in the scope of this particular legislation that included broadband, culverts, climate resilience, clean energy, grid resilience, along with a number of other categories. That is not expected to be included this year. It is going to be a more traditional surface transportation bill. While there had been some reports earlier this year or late last year that either the White House or certain members of Congress would seek to increase the funding of highways at the expense of transit, it does not seem that that's likely to be the case this time. House Chairman Sam Graves has pursued a very bipartisan approach to developing legislation with his counterpart, Ranking Member Rick Larsen from Washington State, and they are continuing to work in negotiations to develop that bill currently. Most recently, they have announced that their intent to hold a markup on that legislation as soon as the end of April. It has slipped a number of times. The long shutdown that had occurred in October unfortunately set this process back significantly. And as I'm sure you're well aware, the Department of Homeland Security is currently in that non-funding shutdown state, and that continues to impede negotiations on a wide array of other legislation. Nonetheless, it's not possible to do what we do without being hopeful. And so I remain optimistic that there's the opportunity to get a long-term surface transportation bill complete by the end of this year. Just last week, had the opportunity to be with Ranking Member Larsen, and even though it may give him the advantage to wait this year out and the potential that Democrats would win back the House, and for him to be the chairman and to have the opportunity to lead the negotiations as opposed to being the sort of the second fiddle, he had established that it is his desire to continue to try to get the bill done this year. And so we do expect to continue to advocate for the programs that are important to San Joaquin COG in that effort, including assuring that the state passes through money to communities and counties so that you have more local control of the funding that is passed by the federal government to plan and program the projects that are most important to you all here. Next slide, please. Looking ahead, we look forward to having you in Washington, D.C. in 2 months. We continue to advocate for earmarks and funding for the locally established transportation priorities that you have, as well as for the surface transportation bill. And we'll keep you apprised through your staff of what the pending elections may have in store for you all. I know that the redistricting has changed some of the congressional representatives here, but we do have good relationships with all of the members of Congress who have some toehold on your county, and we'll be sure to continue the advocacy regardless of who wins the elections and how the maps turn out. I'll stop there in my presentation and welcome any questions that you might have.
Are there any questions from the board? Mr. Harrison?
Thank-
It just came up on mine, so I went ahead with Councilmember Harrison, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Being that we're 1 year in, what policy has the Trump administration, Department of Transportation focused on?
Well, when they first came to office, there was some concern because they had initially put a freeze on a number of federal grants that were moving through the process. They had sought to assure that grants that had been approved by the prior administration were consistent with their policies and priorities. There was a lot of concern that that may hold up funding, but it has since proceeded well forward. They have established policies to assure that highways and roads have the sufficient capacity to move both people and goods to the places that they're looking to do, diminishing a little bit some of the environmental considerations that go into that. There has been a significant effort put into permitting reform so that projects can be executed more quickly with less red tape. And they have also recently put a significant investment proposal forward for building out the capacity of America's ports to assure that we have the ability to move goods within and to export locations outside of the United States. Thank you.
Thank you.
Supervisor Rickman.
Thank you, Chair. I have two questions. First one being the new surface transportation bill that you mentioned might be delayed, beyond the expiration of the bipartisan infrastructure law. So if that's the case, what impact might this delay have on the federal highway and transit funding that, I think everybody up here relies on?
Sure. Well, I think there would be a short-term extension. They wouldn't necessarily sort of say we'll be back in 5 years. So it's likely that either a 6-month or a 1-year extension of the current law would be passed in lieu of a longer-term bill. What that would mean would that there wouldn't be significant changes that some are concerned about occurring with programs that folks may be relying upon. But at the same time, the bipartisan infrastructure law of 2021 had a very unique feature in it in that it had what's called advanced appropriations. Oftentimes, many of the discretionary grant programs rely on Congress to annually appropriate funds, which can be impeded by shutdowns or political differences. And in the IIJA, they put that money in for all 5 years well in advance. If there's a short-term extension, there won't be those advanced appropriations, and we'll have to rely on the appropriations to assure that programs like the Build Grants or Smart Cities have the resources necessary to support the needs of communities like yours.
And through the chair, my second question, and you mentioned the recess of the houses. What effect does that have on DOT or FAA? Or is that going to be status quo there?
Yes, they remain in their normal status in terms of staffing.
All right, cool. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Councilwoman Ponce.
Thank you, Chair. I just have a question. What grant opportunities are likely to see support in transportation bill and which may disappear?
Thank you. That's a good question. We think that the infrastructure programs that have sort of broad applicability, like the RAISE and Build Grants, infra, which is important for freight goods movement, and bus facilities are likely to remain. Those have wide interest across the political spectrum. The IIJA established a number of new grant programs and put a preference on certain other ones. Certainly within the bus facilities account, there was a preference of 75% of the funding going to low and no emission buses. That's probably not something that we will see moving forward. The bill had also included funding and discretionary grants for climate resilience, probably some environmental justice related programs like Connecting Communities that will be less likely to get reauthorized. And they may look to just put those types of projects under broader programs like the Surface Transportation Block Grant, which gives groups like the San Joaquin COG the discretion of where to spend that money as opposed to sort of siloing the dollars. Thank you.
Councilwoman Craig Hensley.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I kind of want to follow up on what Commissioner Rickman and Ponce had just talked about. I'm not hearing anything about passenger rail, and I've been hearing about freight rail. I've been hearing about safety concerns for rail. I've been hearing about transit in terms of bus, but nothing about passenger rail. What's your read on interest in funding passenger rail?
Yes, that's a good question. So in the IIJA, there was actually some fairly significant passenger rail funding approved in a program called the Federal State Partnership for Intercity Passenger Rail. And then there was also resources made available for commuter rail type activities through the pre-existing Federal Transit Administration Capital Infrastructure Grant Program. Moving forward, it is unlikely that the same amount of resources are going to be provided for the intercity passenger rail program. That just doesn't find as much bipartisan favor, unfortunately, even though I personally believe that passenger rail has a lot of promise and is something that California particularly has implemented well. But in terms of commuter rail, I think that there will remain sufficient funding necessary to underwrite programs and projects like the Valley Link. It is a very competitive space. There's a lot of pre-existing sort of legacy transit agencies that need funding to keep and rebuild their systems. And then there's opportunities necessary to build new infrastructure as well. So it's a fairly competitive environment. I think that permitting reform will help hasten those projects to move forward more quickly and not spend quite so much time on their environmental reviews. Projects like these tend not to have significant environmental impacts, and in fact, they more likely reduce emissions and getting people out of their cars and into the trains that end up having net positive benefits. So I think that has the potential of creating more project opportunities moving forward.
Go ahead, Mayor Kinjo.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming. So, leaning on to what the director had just said, are you hearing anything about Union Pacific merger with Northern Norfolk? So, how do you think that will impact us in the valley? We have Union Pacific all over, including Lathrop and all over places.
Yes, that is a good and complicated question. So the proposal has to be reviewed by a federal agency called the Surface Transportation Board. After the merger application was initially submitted, the STB told them, you didn't give us enough. You omitted quite a lot of information about how this will impact competitiveness. This is the first merger that will go through the Surface Transportation Board since the STB had changed its rules and modernized them, and no merger can be approved unless it will improve competitiveness of goods movement in the United States. And so the onus is on the Union Pacific and Norfolk Southern to prove that a merger will indeed increase competitiveness. It is unclear how they're going to rule on that, but leaving the United States with 3 major freight railroads that are domestic, and there are 2 Canadian ones that provide a lot of freight movement in the United States as well, is a fairly slim roster in terms of Class 1 railroads. And it certainly has some impact on trucking and other types of goods movement as well. There are certainly views on both sides in terms of how either more efficient this might make UP and NS by having a transcontinental railroad, versus whether or not this will impede shippers by offering them fewer options. So it's a very political space getting weighed out there. I'm not sure it's my place to have a personal opinion on this, but it's going to be well fought because there are certainly folks lining up on other sides already, and will be interesting to see how that moves ahead.
Seeing no further questions, any comments from the public?
No, ma'am. Are you, Joel's continuing the presentation?
Okay. Go ahead, Mr. Campos.
I think this is the hook that pulls me. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Got a quick slide deck for you all. So regarding the program of projects and the updated federal legislative platform, last month, staff informed this board that this year the program of projects is consisted of 13 projects. Next slide, please. Listed here, 4 of which are new. However, since then, since last month, we've added an additional project. The San Joaquin Regional Transit District has requested to replace their Emergency Operations Center with the Hybrid Electric Bus Replacement Project. And so that's listed here as well. In addition, or furthermore, since last month, Attachment B, which is the federal legislative platform, has also been updated. And that includes language reinforcing positions, actually. It's regarding the Surface Transportation Reauthorization Act, which you just heard about. And it's reinforcing positions from which organizations SJCOG is a member of, such as the National Area Regional Councils, or NARC, the Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations, AMPO, and then the California Association of Councils of Governments, which is CalCog. And regarding their positions on maintaining existing funding, such as STBG, and local control. And so that's the addition regarding, or the latest addition regarding the federal legislative platform and the program of projects. So next slide, please. Staff is asking this board to approve the 2026 One Voice Program of Projects and the federal legislative platform.
Any questions?
Make motion to approve.
Do we have any public comment?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second. Board members, please vote.
Please cast your votes. All votes are in. Motion carries.
Wonderful. Okay, moving on to item 5C. It's a public hearing for the Cherry Undine? Undine?
Siri Undine, yeah.
Undine Road Preserve acquisition.
Thank you very much. So staff would like to ask the chair to open the public hearing while we get the staff report, and then we can take comment. Okay. So this is the second public hearing on this item. It was noticed out in February to the local jurisdictions as well as the regional paper and surrounding landowners for this property. And this is common under the habitat plan that we must do this for acquisitions and dedications. The property we're looking at is 3601 West Undine, Stockton, California. APN is 1918005. Mark Siri is the landowner we're working with, and it's not to exceed 7,500 per acre. The property is 135 acres in size. We're looking at about 130 acres to be acquired under a habitat agricultural easement for row and field crop. There will be some minor enhancements on the property that would be done in cooperation with the landowner. The property is located on Undine Road, northwest of the city of Lathrop. It's in the Delta Zone with a sea level of 6 to 9 feet above sea level. As you can see on attachment 1, it is adjacent to other preserves that we have in the area. And so for economy of scale, we'll be writing the preserve management plan for this property if it does move forward for easement to reflect those so that we can gain that economy of scale. It would be subject to our mitigations under the plan for row and field crop in both Central and Delta. And if it moves forward, it will be brought back later a date for the board to hear for the acquisition. So we'd like to take any comment from the board and public on this item.
I will open the public hearing for comments. Are there any from the board or the public? Seeing none, I will close the public hearing.
Thank you.
Moving on in the agenda, we are at discussion items. There are none. Item 7, informational items. 7A, receive feedback on regional active transportation program cycle 8 regional program.
Madam Chair, there are no presentations on information items unless the board would like any.
Anybody would like to hear from Mr. Campos again? He's waiting. He's willing. He's ready. He's nodding. Okay. Seeing none then, okay, item 8, chair report. I just briefly wanted to share, besides my enthusiasm for all things transportation related in our region, that I had a really good meeting with the interim RTD CEO. Really excited about her breadth and depth of information and experience, and I think that it is RTD is in good hands, and so I just wanted to point that out. And I also wanted to say I just got back from Morocco, and some of the same issues. This area, it's very similar to San Joaquin County. There is their main thing is ag. They are the #1 grower of onions, apparently, in the world, and they grow them on rocks. They literally have these piles of rocks that they put the seeds on, and then they cover them. And yeah, I kept saying, what are those all dead people? I mean, because the way the rocks were lined up. But that's an awful thing to say. But anyway, their rail system, they have a bullet train, and then they have a regular train, and you can literally get anywhere from as little as like $2 to $3 on the regular train. The bullet train is a little bit more, but it cuts it down the time it's 1/3 the time as the other train. And then there's first class and second class. So nice seating in both. Where the regular train, you're pretty packed in there. But their roads as well. They have a great highway system for the most part, but then they have projects that are not completely done, especially in the rural areas. The rural areas have part of the road done, but not the other part. So people are competing for who's going to ride on the already paved part and who's going to get stuck riding on the gravel. So it's like a little game of chicken sometimes. You're putting your life at risk. But a lot of motorbikes, they don't have Uber yet over there. They have illegal kind of like drivers, so you have to be very careful because they're on you to really take advantage of, their offering of transportation. But otherwise, each city has its own color of taxis. So you have a red taxi in Casablanca. You have a blue taxi in Rabat and a green taxi in Tangier. And so I just found it all the way interesting, especially given the number of us who sit on various boards and commissions, that, some of our issues are not unique to us, but here you have a developing country that has done things that I think, it would be nice if we had it. And my niece is over there and she said, gosh, I wish we had a bullet train. And the president of the university specifically asked me about rail, kept asking me about rail and wanting to know more about rail. And I was able to talk about ACE and Valley Link, the proposals there, Bart, because he's not been to our region before. But it was just nice to experience other people's way of travel in their country. So with that, that's all I really have to say. So I will go on to board members. If any board members have anything they would like to, Councilwoman Hensley.
Yeah. I just wanted to actually recognize the participation along with SJCOG staff in the Valley Policy Council's Valley Voice, our San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority and San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission staff participated in that. And just want to appreciate the fact that we were able to join that group. Our chair, Doug Verboon, and one of our members, Vito Chiesa from Stanislaus, participated, and we talked about the projects and priorities, including what we all need for additional funding for passenger rail. So again, great to be part of that team and represented on rail within the bigger picture. So that's it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Any other board members? Seeing none, we will move on. Oh. Listen, I've got umpteen million. Refresh my memory.
Yeah, maybe Mayo.
Oh, the cars.
The Mio car at the senior center in Oak Park.
Yes. I didn't know if our executive director was
Yeah, I
going to
think
bring
it
that
might
up.
be a good thing to speak about it, Madam Director.
Okay. Well,
I'll speak on that. SJCOG, in partnership with the City of Stockton, launched another EV charging and 3 electric cars in Stockton. The location is at the Senior Center in Oak Park, but it's open to the community there. As a reminder, the Mio car is electric car share service, and it is specific to using a mobile app where you can lock and unlock the car for any resident in the nearby area that is 21 years or older that signs onto the app and has a good driving record can use that electric car for $4 an hour or $30 a day. We believe it's a game changer for many disadvantaged residents who just don't have access to a car, have to pay the car insurance, the maintenance and upkeep of a car, gas, and it can help people do daily trips, quick trips, go to a doctor's appointment, go to the grocery store, go to a job interview. And Mayor Fugazi was there wearing both hats as the mayor of Stockton for that location. as well as COG Chair. And I know Board Member Kinjo was there, Council Member and Board Member Mario Ricas was there, and Mayor Andy Sue from Mountain House was also there representing COG. And our Assemblywoman Rhodesia Ransom was there to speak on the project. I'm sure I'm forgetting a few others, but it was a really highly attended event. And we feel it's just an expansion of what the board has done in investing in electric cars since 2021. And I want to thank the California Air Resources Board for helping to fund the expansion of the electric car service in San Joaquin. I told the representative there, we're going to improve air quality one car at a time.
Yes. Okay. Ex officio board members. Let's go ahead and start with Board of Stockton.
Great, thanks, Madam Chair and board members. First, we want to just give you some commission updates. So we have two new commissioners. Dr. Gregory Page was appointed by the City Council in January. He's a lifelong Stocktonian, graduating from St. Mary's High School, Santa Clara University, and UCSD Medical School. Greg has practiced medicine in Stockton for more than 35 years and remains committed to serving the community that he calls home. And our second commissioner is Miguel Villapudua. He was appointed by the county supervisors in February. He's also a lifelong Stocktonian, graduating from Franklin High School and Delta College, and he has more than 3 decades in transportation and development experience. He dedicated the last 8 years guiding San Joaquin County as a supervisor and 8 years prior on the Planning Commission. And also, this year we named Alan Sawyer as chair and Anthony Barquette as vice chair on the commissioner board. And lastly, so regarding impacts on the port regarding shipping from the war with Iran, our fertilizer imports in February were very strong. So we have a lot of supply in the valley right now. However, this might decrease in the coming weeks. Typical transit time from the Strait of Hormuz to the port can be 25 to 30 days. And if this strait remains closed like it is now, we'd have to add another 12 days or so to go around the Cape Horn.
Thank you. Caltrans.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. Caleb Brock filling in for Director Grace McSio today. Two funding opportunities and one announcement. The first one is with the California State Transportation Agency, CalSTA. They've released their call for applications for the Transit and Intercity Rail Capital Program, also known as TIRCIP. There's $900 million available for that program. Applications are due May 14th. And as you may recall, during Cycle 7, San Joaquin Regional Rail Commission and San Joaquin Joint Powers Authority were awarded $70.8 million, which funded 4 of their projects. So it'd be good to see more money stay in the North Valley this next cycle. The second one is for the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. They released their call for applications for their 2026 Fisheries Restoration Grant Program. $16 million available for that one. Applications are due April 16th. And then lastly, an announcement, Caltrans District 10 will host its next Bicycle Pedestrian Advisory Committee, also known as BPAC, on Wednesday, April 8th from noon to 2. So we do invite agency partners, advocates, and members of the public that are interested in active transportation to collaborate around addressing the needs and interests of pedestrians and bicycles. We do hybrid, so virtual, as well as have people come to the district office. If you are interested, you can reach out to our active transportation lead, Charles Carroll, at charles.carroll, that's CARROLL, at dot.ca.gov. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Executive Director's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, board members. I wanted to report that the Highway 99120 construction project continues, and we are anticipating the construction to be complete by summer 2026. So we're actively hoping for continued good weather for the construction activities, and then holding a ribbon cutting ceremony. It would have been 2 years since we broke ground on the project. So coming soon, the ribbon cutting of the Highway 99120 project. this summer. The other thing is I did want to bring to everyone's attention the active transportation program information item that is on the agenda. Wanted to let you know that we will be working with the eligible applicants in this region to make sure they're aware of the program so they can submit grants for bicycle and pedestrian facilities. That's what active transportation is. There's two opportunities to get funding from a single grant application. One is through the statewide call for projects, and that's in June. And then those applications for those projects that don't get funded at the state level, because it is very competitive at the state level, are rollable back to SJCOG for a regional call for projects, those applications that didn't get funded. So there's two opportunities for an application to hopefully get some funds for critically needed bicycle and pedestrian facilities in the communities. It also funds bike master plans, also for cities or the county that does not have, if they don't have a current one on file. The other thing, speaking of advocacy, the mega region, which is made up of San Joaquin COG, the Bay Area Metropolitan Transportation Commission, and our neighbor to the north, Sacramento Area Council of Governments, we will be doing an advocacy day in Sacramento in early April. Our mega region board members are Member Zuber, Member Rickman, Member Singh, and Member Areola. And that's when the three metropolitan planning organizations get together to, number one, advocate for legislation that affects us all. One is the modernization of SB 375, and also to talk about how we can get funding for the Mega Region Dozen, which is a list of 12 projects that intersect and interlink all of our regions, and that we would benefit from having those projects funded. On the Mega Region Dozen list includes the 9120 project, investments in the Altamont Corridor Express, as well as interchange projects in Tracy, just to name a few, that would benefit from getting fully funded. That concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, so that brings us to item 12. Do we need to discuss it? We will go ahead. 4:58. Meeting is adjourned.